What is going on, guys? Welcome back. Commentary for Jimmy Smith and Ryan Moody. We have a brand new logo. Love to know your thoughts on it down in the description, but I guess you wouldn't put it in the description, put it in the comment section. But we actually have a negative story, but also a very positive story to talk about. Obviously, Robert Whittaker really took the MMA world by storm the past couple of years. He's coming off a loss to Israel Adesanya, which huge international card, and had a fight lined up with Jaron Kinnear that would have put him right back into title contention. And earlier this week, when we learned he was forced to withdraw, a lot of people started to bring out some negatives about his injuries in the past or questioning why this was. But ultimately, we've learned this has nothing to do with Robert Whittaker as a physical person and so much more as a mental person and the strength that he has in terms of what he's going through, because he is now donating bone marrow to his daughter as she fights a very difficult disease. And I think a lot of times, Jimmy, when we look at these stories, we often overlook the fact that this is a guy that's living his dream and has to put everything on hold to do the right thing. And I know it's easy to sit here for you and me and say, well, he's doing what we would do, but not everybody makes the right decisions. And obviously, this is a very difficult time for him, not just with his family, but Australia as a whole is going through a lot of problems. And I can't imagine the position Robert Whittaker is in, but certainly it shows the positive side of MMA to see a guy like this show this character and do what he has to do to support his family outside of just going into a cage and fight.
Yeah, that's true. And when this it was first announced he was pulling out of this fight, the announcement itself was kind of strange because there was no specific injury announcement. A lot of people thought that it was a cover up for some kind of positive test that would come out. And I remember, I said this on air. I said that the tests always come out eventually. There's no way he's going to lie about it. And then a test comes out. I think it's something personal, and turns out it was. And him doing what he needs to do to protect his daughter. And it's just the worst thing a parent can go through is, a medical emergency for your child. That everything else is, I want to say secondary, but third and fourth on the list at this point. And his willingness to take care of his family, that says a lot about his character as a person. And I think fans are going to support him all the way through this, and his comeback's going to be that much bigger because you don't just like him as a fighter, you like him as a human being, as a father, and that's important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would also hope that the UFC supports them, as they have Australia already, but supports him and his family through what has to be, an extremely trying time. And you never want to see children be sick. But when you have a child that is sick, you want to see everything done to make them better. And in this situation, I guess, you could seriously look at it and say, someone else might say, you know what, I'll do what I have to do, but after the fight, I still have my obligation as a fighter or as an athlete, because after all, this is what he does to feed his family. But for him to go ahead and take that step and say, listen, I'm going to take care of this now. I'm going to pull out of this fight, and I'm going to make sure that I'm doing the best thing for my family overall, is a really special thing. And I think at a day and age where we focus a lot on the negative aspects of the sport, the people that come out with, over the top personalities or characters, or we focus on the negative, this is something that really should be put paramount on the front page of every MMA website. That way, any sports fan, goes and sees this. I mean, this is something that you don't have to follow MMA to relate to and rally behind a person that's willing to make this type of decision. I mean, to put it in different context, imagine, the week before a championship game, or a couple weeks before, the Super Bowl, since it's going to be coming right around the corner, somebody saying, you know what, I'm not going to play in this game because I have a child that's sick and I have to do what I have to do. I mean, like I said earlier, we all like to think that that's what would happen, but we all know individuals don't always have that same character. And to see him walk away from a fight that's important to him, but it's not as significant to him as his family, is really refreshing. I mean, knowing I've had the opportunity to meet him a couple of times, fantastic individual, very nice guy, very humble, down to earth guy. But, you don't really know people in passive meetings with them. You learn a lot about a person when they go through a situation like this and how they handle it.
Yeah, and also he's going to have the support of the UFC. Dana White very publicly stated what he thought of the decision and what he thinks of Robert Whittaker, and that's selfless, a great guy, a great human being. And so I think the UFC as an organization is going to be supportive of him and his position within the company and in the rankings and all these things. He won't be forgotten. He won't be neglected. I think they appreciate what he's doing. And when he does come back, hopefully he recovers, his daughter recovers, everything's fine. He'll have a home in the UFC. They are very much behind him in a public way. That's important.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of special cards we look at over the next, 12 to 16 months. I can't think of one more moment I want to see, and how special that moment is when we see his little girl, ringside, cage side, however you want to go about it, and he finally makes that walk. I think we all want to see that moment. Probably the only person that doesn't want to see that moment who's going to be on the opposite side of the cage that night, because you can only imagine, when Robert Whittaker does come back, he is going to continue to be a force to reckon with and probably have a whole new motivation behind fighting.
Yeah, I mean, whoever fights Robert Whittaker is also going to be outnumbered by the crowd, to say the least. He's popular already. He's known as a humble guy, a hard worker, not much of a trash talker, but a devastating talent within the UFC. And being next level popular with people behind you, the way people are going to be behind his return, I think that means a lot. He already has a lot of fan support. I think it's going to go through the roof.
Yeah, and you know what? The other side is this could also be something that brings in a lot of casual eyes too. I know we just got through that with Conor, but some of that is not always in the right place. Some people just want to see, brash, arrogant Conor. At the same time, there's going to be a lot of people that want to see how Robert Whittaker responds to something that is very relatable. Dealing with a sick family member. In this case, unfortunately, it has to be his child, but, very much commend him for the decisions that he's made. Obviously, I'll speak for you in this, that we both support him and his family 110%, and hopefully the UFC can do everything they can in their power to make sure everything goes the best they can for them. They're always good with that in terms of getting everyone that's involved with the sport the best care they can possible. Hopefully that extends to his daughter. And like you said earlier, couple months from now, this is all behind us. The stories turn positive, and we get to see him make that walk and see his daughter smile on the sidelines of all this. With that said, we appreciate you guys checking this out, and we will be back very shortly with more commentary.